Start going through things. I want to give a caveat that I have prefaced everything in my presentation from the point of view of bringing people in who aren't already in your organization. So I should say, in many cases, this surrounding yourself with the right people is an iterative process. I'm glad to see that Bill is here because we've done a lot of work with Bill, and I don't know if Sean is still here, but I think some of the people from Sean's team is here. We've done some work with LuxTech to talk about people who are already there and how you bring out the skills and understanding and ability to work together more effectively as a team. So no matter what business you're in, it's always about the people. The people are everything in your business. Whatever you make, whatever you do, if you don't have people and you don't have the right people, you're going to be in trouble. So I have a little story today to share with you, and some of you have lived this story. So I call this the business growth story. You start out and you have a great idea, and you're going to grow your business. So at some point after that, you're filled with exuberance because your idea is so wonderful, and you build or create whatever you're going to create, and you get a little bit of money, and it's feeling pretty good. And then you start to look, and you're like, whoa, look at this thing, it's taking off. And then you go, I've got to get some people in here. So you go ahead and you hire your first person, and then, what have I done? Right? Story that we see all the time. And then you grow some more, and the next thing you know, you've got a whole cast of characters in your company, and sometimes things become quite decent. So this is often where we get brought in at Trajectify to help with this, but I like to try to be proactive. And the way to work at this is to be methodical. You can see there's a lot of stuff here that you've got to do. The first thing I like to say is to think about your business model. Now I'm not going to, I could spend 3 hours talking about business models, and I'm happy to do that at a future presentation. But it really, your people start with your business model. What are you trying to achieve? And then you got to think about your culture. Again, we could spend 2 hours talking about culture, and I know there was some illusion here, and I know some people like the Laffertys are big HubSpot fans. HubSpot's a marketing platform, but it really begins with culture, and that's a strong foundation for your business. A lot of times as you're creating your business, it's what do you want your culture to be? Maybe not what it is right now, and you have to work at building that. And this is the boring stuff. We talked about this a little bit in the coaching sessions today. I really try to drill this down with my coaching clients. What is the process for your business? What are the work requirements? And then ultimately, what are the people needs? What are the job descriptions? What are the things that you need to have happen? What I see more often than not is that people start with, wow, there's a whole lot of stuff going on here, so I better jump in and I better start hiring people. And usually that's a pretty significant mistake, to start putting people resources against work when you don't even understand and have the work defined. You can do it that way, and there's a school of thought that says just hire good people and figure it out. I would argue that doesn't always work out the best, because I've seen people, hire their friend from college, a fraternity brother, a family member, somebody that they met at a store that they thought would be a good addition to their company. But I really encourage you to be strategic about this. So, who do you want on your team? This is a really simple little grid that I picked up at a Wharton conference, right? And imagine anything at Wharton being simple. But this was really a good thing, and I use this not only on who I want to partner with on business things. It's really, when it comes down to it, is I talk to people about the possibility of working with them as a coach. I look at this and I say, I only want to work with smart, kind people. And I've worked with people in all these boxes before, and the Wharton speaker who shared this was Donnie Deutsch. And I don't know if anybody knows Donnie Deutsch from TV, big advertising guy, business guru. One of the things he pointed out here is a lot of times in business, we love the smart, unkind people. They make snarky concepts or comments. They'll make a big grandstand point at a meeting and everything. And his word that he used for those people is they're seductive. They pull you in and they can destroy your organization. So I really focus on trying to always work with smart, kind people. So when you do this, besides like meeting people and saying, oh, they seem pretty smart, they seem nice, I had a beer with them, they're good, we tend to look at objective measurements. Educational achievements, certifications, maybe some skill testing. I know people like Bill, I've done a lot of work with Bill, so I know Bill likes to give developers a technical problem, put it on the whiteboard, and walk away, and then come back and see how they do it. So all of that's good, and they're objective criteria. It's not, do I like the guy, did he dress nice, did he laugh at my jokes, does he seem like me? These are some objective things that you can do. What else can you do? So I work primarily with two tools that help us identify, select, build teams from a data-based perspective. So there's Teamability, it's the first one I'm going to talk about, and the second one is called Best Work Data. Now both of these are online computer experiences. They're very different. Teamability is open-ended. You can take 3 days if you wanted to do it. And Best Work Data has a time section and an untimed section. Generally takes 25 minutes. So both of these are very different systems, and I'll talk about it first. So Teamability helps people identify which role or roles they naturally gravitate to on a team. So I'm not going to read all of these, but a lot of times a founder is the person who has created the business. They tend to be very high-level visionary people who see the big picture. They're usually very motivational. They're compelling. They recruit people to join their vision of what can be done and what the world can be. But what happens is that person alone isn't going to be able to fulfill all of the needs of an organization. One of the things I'll go ahead and pick on Sean, even though Sean has left, right? Sean has left the building, right, Amy? Okay, but the Lux Tech folks who are here know Sean is a founder. He's got a great vision for the future. But one of the things that Sean struggled with early in building the business was getting people to understand his vision in a way that was actionable. On this next chart, I'll skip ahead and then I'll skip back. On this next chart, what you can see is all the 10 roles have corresponding places opposite them on the circle. And a founder needs communicators who are people who will listen to what the vision is, understand it, and then socialize it throughout the organization to get everybody on the same page. So that's just one quick example of how these different roles work together, and I just want to give a high-level view of that. But another thing that Teamability measures is coherence. How likely are people to stay aligned with the team goals? So someone who is coherent is considered fully focused on team goals. Someone who is diffuse may stray from team goals. Someone who is rigid would be more oriented towards like, there's a team, but what about my goals? Let's just get my goals achieved. And so people tend to fall in these categories. Now, if somebody has one of these tendencies that is not focused on team goals, it's not a fatal flaw, but what it means is that somebody else on the team is going to have to exert energy to try to bring people back to being focused on a team goal. So if you're doing the math, you want a majority of people to be coherent and focused on team goals, and the team will stay focused on your goals more readily the more coherent people you have. And it's just, if you have 10 people and you consider each coherent person a 1 and each not coherent person a -1, you definitely want to have your team up around 7, 8, 9, 10, rather than somewhere in the middle. So just touched on this a little bit. This is what we call a team target. And basically, if you want to understand your team and how people balance out and can work together and naturally form productive relationships, this is how we chart the different roles after each person completes the online team ability experience. So there's a really interesting thing, and I have done this with hundreds and hundreds of people. So I pulled out some anonymous reports, and in this case, the business role in the 2 examples that I'm going to show, they're both people who work in project management, project leadership, both within the marketing and advertising field. And you'll see a very different story here. Now, I know this is small, hopefully you can read it, but I'll read it. The first person is a diffuse action former. So they're not going to stay focused on goals, and action formers are the people who organize the team in a tactical manner, make up lists of here are all the tasks that we need to do, and try to keep everybody on track. So imagine if you have that kind of person who's not staying focused on the team goals, and their job is to project manage and make sure all the goals are being completed. So, you can see this is the person who's often in front of the room writing things down that need to be done. We also move on in this person and we see some of the things in the team ability report. He is not generous with his assistants and is unlikely to make an effort to see that people's needs are met. So imagine a project manager who's working with your team like that, and he's not inclined to take much immediate action to get things accomplished. So this was a person who I worked with in an ongoing business, and he had some real challenges. Because this candidate is diffuse, he will not act in a consistent manner. He's unlikely to be able to be consistently dependable in carrying out required tasks. This is a real problem, and this is someone who got hired into a company. Now, here's the case for using team ability as an objective measure before you hire someone. This is another person doing an almost identical role in a different organization. She is a coherent communicator, action former. So she's doing the same out front organizing things. She also has the dual role of being a communicator, so she wants to make sure everybody's on the same page and knows what's going on. She has a strong ability to understand and evaluate people, not in a critical way, but in terms of what information they have to offer. Her goal is to pass on information in the way that will produce the best results for all concerned. Serving as the coordinator for all different parts of a team or unit and making sure that they operate in an efficient manner. That's really good stuff. Because she is coherent, she will usually gain the confidence of others and credibility through her own integrity. So when you think about it, who wants to hire person number 1? Who wants to hire person number 2? I can tell you person number 2 is a rock star. She's absolutely amazing. Everybody loves her. She does a great job in the organization that she works for. And I can't think of a better person to work with. So this is the kind of insight that you can get through an objective instrument about how someone may work with your team. Now the second tool I use, Best Work Data, is much more granular. And I'll show you in just a minute how granular it can be. But it measures 2 main things, which is the cognitive processing speed. And lest anybody jump to a conclusion here, which is what I did when I first got introduced to Best Work Data. I thought, cognitive processing speed, I want people who think fast. That's the way the world is. Let's just get the fast thinkers, get the people who can think quickly on their feet, have great insights, and move ahead. Not necessarily true for all the roles, right? If you have someone who's like an emergency room doctor, you want someone who can think fast and draw on all their resources. If you have someone trying to analyze a deep business problem, you might want someone who's going to take a little bit more time, think things through. So it's not that one thing is perfect and one thing is imperfect. The other thing it does is it measures some of the hardwired behavioral traits that we all have. And you can see in the next slide, this is just some of the various reports. So what happens is a person takes the best work data assessment online. They get what's called a job strengths report almost immediately, and that points out to them what the positives are that they have to offer an organization. It doesn't provide any, like, you are bad at this, you can't do this, you shouldn't do this other thing. It just hits high points of positives. But there are other reports that we can run for specific reasons. And I'll show you a couple of these reports in just a minute. But you can see some of these, like there are whether someone is good at management, whether they have communication issues with people, whether they would be good in project management, whether they have kind of the hardwiring to be good at IT, finance, or administration, etc. So these reports are much more complex, and I will be very candid. The first time I showed best work data to Mike did not like it. Mike liked the things that give you just a distinct number, a color, or an animal. So I said, Mike, fine, you're 97, purple, naked mole rat. And he was happy, except he wanted the 97 behind. But this does not work this way. So this is a little complicated when you first look at it, but let me see if I can do a reasonable job of explaining it. So this is a normal bell curve, and there are 6 categories where someone can fall. This is 10%, this is 10%, 15, 15, 25, 25. So for certain jobs, you're going to want people that are out towards certain ends of the distribution. In this case, both of these people are about the same age. The first one is a recent graduate interviewing for her first professional job right now. The second one, I can't see, there's a glare. 3 minutes? Okay, no problem. We'll just take 13, because Mike said I could. I'll be faster. So in this case, this person overall has pretty strong, the kind of jobs she's looking for are project management, customer service, team member, things like that. And you can see she tends to have conventional thinking. She's quick information processing, but not all the way over at the far end of it. In her customer service report, she has a win-win view of customer service. Customers should be happy, and the company should also be successful. She can solve most problems. She generally calls out problems when she recognizes them. So those are all good things that you would want to have in somebody in customer service. The one section in bold here is all coachable stuff. Because she processes information pretty quickly, she tends to gloss over details and assume people know things. So I've coached her on a communication style of checking in and asking people, do they understand what she's communicating. Project management, these are important things. She can handle performance problems on a team. She's normally comfortable supervising others. She generally calls out problems. The last thing you want is someone in your business who sits on problems, knows about them, and doesn't tell anyone about them. They just get worse over time, right, Phil? So the other thing from an admin, IT, or financial management, she has no IT or financial credentials, but she has a high attention to details, high compliance with company policies. She generally follows rules. She can handle a high degree of paperwork, and she learns new things quickly. Okay, so one of the things she was looking at, and this often happens in companies somebody gets along really well with customers and they're doing a great job in customer service, let's try them out in sales. Well, if you know anything about sales, you know that that doesn't always work. And in this case, we can head this off because she can be moderately persuasive with most people. She works best with sales that don't require strong closes. So there's some cautions there that you would pick up in best work data. Second person we're looking at, now this is a person who is now in a lower level management position, really smart, good college graduated from, and she's having some struggles in her role. She's got a high attention to detail, high compliance with rules and procedures. She likes doing a lot of paperwork, but for someone in management, she's over on the side where she avoids conflict, she needs direction, and she needs instructions to move forward. So those are presenting her with some challenges. When we look at the management report, she dislikes confrontation. She's better managing when there's little or no disagreement. She can handle performance problems unless the situation is confrontational, so that's a little bit of a challenge. And she generally makes decisions appropriate, but again, if there's confrontation, that could be a problem for her. In project management, which is part of what she does, she dislikes confrontation, and she's reluctant to call out problems. So those are some real things that, had we done best work data before she ended up in this role, the company may have chosen not to hire her, or maybe would have slotted her in a different role in the company and maybe let her get a little more experience so she could work on these things. So in this case, she's already an employee. What do? She has high attention to details, high compliance, follows rules, and she likes a high degree of paperwork. So they generally like her. She's a nice person, struggling in a role. Is there a better role for her in the company? So I've tried to give you a couple of concrete examples here of how assessments can work. What I'm willing to do is, if any one of you would like to try best work data for yourself, please see me afterwards, and I'll go ahead and get you registered to get your report, and then we can find a way to visit briefly, and I can answer any of your individual concerns. All right, so I am over my time. I apologize, but we did get started a little late getting people